Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Excellencies, the Forum on Minority Issues was established in 2007 by the Human Rights Council in its resolution 615. The important role of the Forum was reaffirmed in 2012 through Council Resolution 1923. The Forum is mandated to provide a platform for promoting dialogue and cooperation on issues pertaining to national or ethnic, religious and linguistic minorities, and to provide thematic contribution and expertise to the work of the Special Rapporteur. In return, the Special Rapporteur is tasked with guiding the work of the Forum. The aim of the 16th session of the Forum, which took place in Geneva on the 29th of November and the 1st of December 2023, was to tackle the multiple challenges faced by minority communities worldwide, focusing on strengthening their socio-economic participation and ensuring equality and social inclusion. In line with the Sustainable Development Goals, the Forum was intended to promote work towards a future with no poverty and reduced inequality, where peace, justice, and strong institutions prevail within cohesive societies. While minority groups, which are often among the world's most marginalized and vulnerable, are not specifically mentioned in the SDGs, their protection needs should be explicitly recognized in the context of efforts to honor the pledge to leave no one behind. The Forum looked at the realities of contemporary societies in which minority groups often grapple with the persistent challenges of systemic inequities and discrimination, hindering their access to vital resources and equal opportunities in various spheres, such as education, employment, and health care. At the same time, the Forum recognized the integrative role played by genuinely cohesive and inclusive societies that manage to create conducive environments in which dignity and the potential of all individuals, regardless of their ethnic, religious, or linguistic identity, are promoted and valued. In such societies, rather than merely surviving, minority communities thrive to become essential contributors to a sustainable and shared future. The Forum was divided in 4 panel discussions. The first was aimed at addressing the systemic and structural challenges and discriminations that minority groups might face, including the unique obstacles for women and girls belonging to minority groups. It explored the factors placing them at a disadvantage, such as language or other requirements, as well as the lack of educational opportunities. In the second panel, participants explored ways of amplifying the economic participation of people belonging to minority groups. They emphasized the importance of equal opportunities in society, employment and entrepreneurship, with special attention given to economic support for migrants and refugees belonging to minority groups, in particular with a view to empowering young people. In the third panel, participants discussed legislation, policies, and the provision of public goods and services that respect the rights of minority groups to equality without discrimination. They also addressed access to health care. They further considered how legislation could increase opportunities for minority groups, as well as the importance of equal access to technology, including fostering digital literacy within minority communities. The fourth panel highlighted good practices as well as legal and institutional frameworks and policies that effectively safeguard the rights of persons belonging to minority groups. Promoting the inclusion of persons belonging to minorities in society was strongly highlighted. Mr. Vice President, Excellencies, at the end of these 2 intensive days of debate, the main recommendations from the Forum are: first, states should recognize the need for inclusion and effective participation of minorities as a key component of valuing diversity in societies. Second, states should acknowledge the urgency of overcoming destabilizing inequalities in order to achieve a greener, better, and safer future. Third, states should work towards the development of human rights economy that place human rights at the center of economic policymaking while focusing on protecting and enhancing the meaningful participation of marginalized groups, including minority groups, in economic decision-making. That include both participatory budgeting initiatives that ensure the engagement of minority groups in budgetary decision-making, as well as increased investment in essential social services to ensure the equal access of minority groups to quality education, health, and housing. It also calls for adopting and implementing national legislation and policies that extend the protection of labor laws and social security to include minority groups working in informal economies. Fourth, when analyzing and addressing the challenges that minority groups face in entering the labor market, states should invest in targeted programs that enable those groups to acquire the skills necessary to participate effectively in the economy. These should include targeted scholarship, training programs, internships, and fellowships in higher education. It also requires investing in minority language education and fostering digital literacy programs within minority communities. Fifth, the United Nations should continue to foster the meaningful participation, collaboration, representation, and advocacy of persons belonging to minority groups in UN forums, including on socio-economic issues. That includes supporting the engagement of minority groups in UN intergovernmental process through the major groups and other stakeholder structure, while continuing to support the work of the UN Network on Racial Discrimination and the Protection of Minorities. It also includes strengthening the Forum on Minority Issues by strengthening the existing voluntary fund to sponsor the meaningful participation of civil society and representatives of minority groups in the Forum. To conclude, Mr. Vice President, taking into consideration the success of the Forum on Minority Issues, but also the tensions generated during each session due to time constraints and organizational shortcomings, I will devote time in the coming years to discuss with all stakeholders some possible material improvements prior to submitting concrete recommendations to strengthen the Forum. Such recommendation will need to include proposals as to its duration, format, and funding. I thank you for your attention.